You're looking at them right now, but have you ever really stopped to think about where these letters came from? Well, get ready because we're about to pull back the curtain on one of the most important inventions in human history. This is the story of how a handful of simple symbols didn't just change how we write, they literally rewired our brains and built the world we live in today.
So, let's start with a little thought experiment. Just imagine for a second you need to send a quick email. But instead of the 26 letters you have to pick from, about 5,000 different little pictures, where each one represents a whole idea or an object. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, that's not some weird puzzle. That was the reality for the first civilizations. It was a huge, huge barrier to just about everything. You see, the earliest writing systems, like the famous Egyptian hieroglyphs, were ideographic. That's just a fancy way of saying they use pictures to represent entire concepts. To master a system like that took years and years of intense, specialized training. It basically built a wall around knowledge, with a tiny, literate elite on the inside and pretty much everyone else on the outside.
So how in the world did we break through that wall? Well, the answer wasn't just coming up with some new symbols. It was a complete, revolutionary shift in how we even think about what writing is for.
And this chart really just drives home how high that wall was. I mean, look at this. In places like Egypt and Mesopotamia, maybe 1 or 2% of the entire population could read and write. This created what was basically a knowledge monopoly. All the important stuff, religious texts, laws, history, it was all controlled by a very small, very powerful group of scribes and priests.
Now, what's really fascinating is that the breakthrough actually started inside that super complex Egyptian system. Some clever scribes started using a few of their picture symbols not for the thing in the picture, but for the first sound of the spoken word for that thing. This was it. This was the big leap. A total pivot from writing what you see to writing what you hear.
But an idea is one thing. It took a group of super practical, seafaring merchants to take that clever idea and engineer it into a technology that would absolutely change the world. And that's where the Phoenicians come in, the master traders of the ancient Mediterranean.
The Phoenicians needed something fast, efficient, and easy to learn for their massive trading network. So they took that Egyptian idea of sound-based writing and stripped away everything else. All the complicated pictures, all the exceptions, gone. They created a lean, mean, purely phonetic machine built for business.
And this number says it all. This was their brilliant innovation. They boiled thousands of possible symbols down to just 22. 22 simple characters, and each one stood for a single consonant sound. No more pictures of birds or water, just pure, abstract sound. It was an incredible piece of engineering.
And make no mistake, this wasn't just some academic project. The Phoenician alphabet was the killer app for ancient commerce. It solved a massive problem for traders. Suddenly, you could write up contracts, shipping manifests, and keep ledgers way faster. It was easy to learn, and you could even adapt it to different languages. It completely broke that old scribal monopoly.
Okay, so the Phoenician system was a total game changer, but it wasn't quite perfect. It only had consonants, which can get a little ambiguous. The final piece of the puzzle, the last crucial upgrade, came when this system made its way over to ancient Greece.
What the Greeks did was just brilliant. It was like a linguistic software update. They looked at the Phoenician alphabet and noticed a few symbols for consonant sounds that they didn't really use in their own language. So what did they do? They repurposed them. They turned these extra symbols into our vowels, A, E, I, O, U. And just like that, for the very first time in history, we had a system that could accurately capture every single sound of spoken language. The tool was finally complete.
And with this simple, complete, easy-to-learn system, well, it didn't just change writing. It kickstarted a chain reaction of social changes that would lay the foundations for our entire modern world. This quote right here just nails it. The alphabet wasn't just a better way to write stuff down. It became a new tool for thinking. Think of it like a brand new operating system for the human mind, one that allowed for totally new kinds of thought to be processed, stored, and shared with near-perfect accuracy.
So what could you do with this new OS? Well, in Athens, you could carve the laws of the city into stone for any citizen to read. That's a fundamental requirement for democracy, right? Philosophers like Plato could now write down these incredibly complex, logical arguments, step by step, knowing they wouldn't get messed up in the retelling. And scientists, They could record their findings precisely, so the next generation could build directly on their work instead of starting from scratch. That old information monopoly was shattered, for good.
So, how did this amazing Greek invention become the letters that you and I use every single day? Its journey across Europe and its deep, permanent impact on our minds is the last piece of this incredible story. All right, so from Greece, the alphabet went on a bit of a road trip. It headed over to Italy, where it was picked up and tweaked, first by the Etruscans and then by this little up-and-coming power you might have heard of, Rome. The Romans perfected the letter shapes we know, and then, through the sheer power of their empire, they spread their Latin alphabet all across the known world. A few more letters got added in the Middle Ages, like J, U, and W, and boom, our 26 letters were set.
But the alphabet's biggest legacy might be something you can't even see. It's what it did to our brains. There's a theory called the alphabet effect. The basic idea is that the very act of learning to read an alphabet trains your brain to think in a new way. You have to learn how to break down the constant flow of speech into these tiny, abstract little bits of sound. And that process, that deconstruction, strengthens our capacity for abstract, analytical, and logical thought.
Which brings us to one last kind of mind-bending question. This 3,000-year-old technology isn't just a tool we use. In a very real way, it's part of the operating system that our minds run on. It shaped our laws, our science, our philosophy, even the very way we form a logical argument. So the question is, if this incredible invention had never happened, would the person you are right now, the way you think, the way you reason, the way you see the world, even exist at all?